Have you ever found yourself lying on the couch and suddenly thinking about what threatens our civilization?
Yeah.
And it's not the usual scenarios like countries exchanging nuclear strikes or an asteroid heading towards our planet. You think of scenarios that few people talk about. I have compiled a rather extensive list of possible catastrophes that could occur in the near future, and I want to start by saying that it will not include topics like overpopulation, global warming, meteors, nuclear strikes, and so on. This is because, firstly, the chances of these happening are quite minimal. Secondly, there are no direct indications for them. And thirdly, my goal is to share interesting information with you that will make you want to subscribe to the channel. This is an iceberg of catastrophes that few people talk about. We'll start with the lightest ones and end with the most terrifying. The year 2038 problem is an overflow error that will affect computers and systems using 32-bit time representation in Unix format. Many systems store time as the number of seconds that have passed since January 1st, 1970, known as the Unix timestamp or epoch time. In 32-bit systems, time is represented as a signed integer, where the maximum value is 2,147,483 seconds. This number will be reached on January 19th, 2038. You might ask, so what? How will this lead to a catastrophe? Imagine that a significant portion of servers, database equipment, industrial automation systems, financial systems, and so on operate on 32 bits. In 2038, the seconds counter will roll over to a negative number, which could lead to the collapse of nearly all national economies if they do not manage to transition to 64-bit systems in time. Microplastic refers to tiny plastic particles less than 5 millimeters in size. They can result from the breakdown of larger plastic waste or be intentionally added to products, such as cosmetics or cleaning agents. Through seafood, drinking water, and air, microplastics enter the human body. Some particles may contain toxic substances, causing inflammation, hormonal disruption, and much more. They harm not only humans. When they enter the soil, they reduce its fertility and degrade its quality. I won't even go into the mass poisoning of fish, animals, and so on. You might ask, so what? It gets on my skin, what's next? The issue is not just that it's on your skin. Microplastics have already been found in the lungs, brain, blood, and even placenta. I think it's clear that this leads to very serious consequences. While it's not entirely clear what exactly they do to our bodies, one thing is certain: it's nothing good. I'll be quite brief here, as this topic has been discussed countless times before me. Simply put, it's when self-realized, intelligent, and cultured people have 1 or 2 children per family, while the trend in childbirth belongs to people who sit around doing nothing and reproduce like rabbits without having the slightest means to support their children. The important thing here isn't the present situation, but where it's all headed. People without brains or morals are multiplying, and that's scarier than most natural disasters. I would even place it lower on the iceberg, but those spots are taken by even gloomier topics. Coffee beans are disappearing. Yes, I can already hear your cries to have mercy on coffee, but alas, what is the main problem, and why might our beloved invigorating drink disappear? There are several global issues. The first is plant disease. Coffee rust has already destroyed a large portion of plantations. The second is deforestation, which is causing the area available for cultivation to decrease. And the third is global warming. In countries where coffee is traditionally produced, yields are declining. Currently, scientists are working on more resilient varieties and are trying to somehow save the situation. But according to them, the price will skyrocket by 100% and the taste will change. As they say, stock up and wait. Shortage of doctors. It's quite an ironic situation. It seems like there are plenty of doctors, but in the future, there won't be enough of them. Why? Because a large portion of the doctors and the population are already old. They need medical care, but there aren't enough doctors. That's essentially it. Over time, there will be more and more elderly people, and not many people are studying to become doctors. You might think I'm an idiot right now, but hear me out. Deepfake technology hasn't been around for very long. There are already AI-generated videos that are indistinguishable from real ones. This technology will continue to improve until it becomes indistinguishable from reality. Now, imagine a world where anyone can become anyone. Trust on the internet will immediately plummet to almost zero. This will affect banks, as voices can already be faked. It will affect companies, even schools. I dread to imagine how many such situations there will be in the future. Our carbon absorption system has been decreasing year by year. It has reached the point where we can no longer process the majority of carbon dioxide. A carbon absorption system consists of natural or artificial mechanisms that accumulate carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, reducing its concentration and mitigating the effects of climate change. We need a new solution to this issue. Otherwise, the climate in most countries will change drastically. Talking about an iceberg in a video about icebergs is some new level of meta-irony. Remember when everyone was saying that icebergs would melt, releasing a bunch of gases, including methane? But there's a catch. The amount of gas released turned out to be much greater than expected. It's literally greenhouse gases on steroids. The situation is actually even worse when you consider that they create a climate feedback loop. The more gas that gets released, the faster the temperature will rise. Oceanic fishing, combined with climate change, is hitting the population of Bikini Bottom extremely hard. The habitat of fish is rapidly shrinking, as is their food supply. What was once considered trash is now the catch of the day, and tomorrow, a memory. You might be upset that there won't be sushi or Korean delicacies anymore. But guys, in most developing countries, fish is the cheapest still, most nutritious and accessible food that people can afford. Now imagine what will happen when fish becomes more expensive. Hunger will begin. Soil degradation. Most farming methods are unsustainable. To continue growing food on the same scale as we do now, people need to constantly seek new methods. Otherwise, once again, hunger will begin. In our era of the internet and electricity, just imagine a scenario where all electricity is knocked out by a massive solar storm. The lights would go out, the internet would go down, satellites, communication, and so on. Absolutely everything would shut down for everyone, everywhere. The northern lights would no longer be so polar, and you could potentially see them from Madrid, for example. It's just a hypothetical situation, you might say. Unfortunately, this is a reality. The Carrington event occurred on September 2nd, 1859. On this day, the most powerful geomagnetic storm took place, causing all telegraphs to spark and catch fire. Operators received burns from electric shocks. All electricity went out everywhere. It was 1859, so the consequences weren't as severe. But if something like that were to happen now, all banks, satellites, servers, all media, and hard drives, absolutely everything would fail. Supervolcano eruption. There are about 20 supervolcanoes on Earth. Their eruptions occur roughly every 100,000 years. The most well-known is the Yellowstone supervolcano, located in the United States. Its caldera is enormous, 55 by 75 kilometers. This supervolcano has not erupted for 600,000 years, and according to volcanologists, it is long overdue for an eruption. It could happen at any moment, although in geological terms, this is a rather vague statement. The consequences would be catastrophic. There would be super powerful flows, hurricanes of volcanic gases, rocks, and ash. They would cover areas of tens of thousands of square kilometers. No living thing would survive, but other regions of the planet would not fare well either. The volcanic ash rising into the sky would block out the sun for a long time, leading to what is known as a nuclear winter, only without the use of nuclear weapons. And now everyone is like, no, fucking no. This is not positive news. Almost all pollinating insects are rapidly declining. While it's not accurate to say that bees will go extinct completely, it won't happen anytime soon. Their rapid decline could already lead to food shortages and, as a result, hunger. Even though they are small, their contribution to the ecosystem is fucking enormous. AMOC stands for the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. The melting of glaciers leads to a rise in water levels and changes in water density. This affects the water's ability to transfer heat, maintain circulation, and movement. It may not sound so bad until you realize that because of this, Europe could just turn into Siberia. Precipitation will increase in some regions, leading to a decrease in others. Due to rising water levels, many countries, especially island or coastal ones, could simply be submerged, becoming the Atlantic Ocean for future generations. Bacteria, fungi, and viruses have a really nasty, I would even say cheaty, ability to adapt to literally anything. Humanity has been in a constant race with such pests since it couldn't even walk upright. Bacteria and viruses are constantly adapting, becoming stronger and stronger. They can bypass old vaccines, drugs, medications, and so on. And that's how superbugs eventually emerge, resistant to antibiotics and our own immune systems. We're left desperately fighting what we can't see. The situation is worsened by the fact that people use antibiotics and other medicines just in case. Maybe it will help. They don't realize that by doing this, they're just helping bacteria and viruses adapt to drugs until they become completely resistant. Plus, bacteria transfer their genes very quickly. If one successful mutation occurs, by the next day, this mutation will be widespread. And give people any reason. They are already giving antibiotics to livestock to keep them from getting sick, essentially spreading genetic experiments that strengthen bacteria. The more they encounter the drug, the faster they find ways around it. No one knows exactly how much oil is left in the Earth's depths. However, according to optimistic forecasts, by 2050, half of the world's oil reserves will have been extracted based on disclosed exploration data. The first and most pressing problem we will face by then is the end of the era of cheap natural fuel. Over time, as oil becomes an increasingly scarce resource, more developed countries will have to look for it where it still remains, among their weaker neighbors. A new phase of exploitation of poor countries by rich countries will begin. New armed conflicts will erupt in the Middle East and Africa. Billions of people will go hungry due to the global dependence on fossil fuels. Ultimately, this could lead to a return to subsistence farming. Perhaps one day, humanity will get off the oil hook and replace gasoline with alcohol, which will be produced from corn or sugarcane. In recent years, as you well know, technology has been advancing rapidly. One of the hypothetical threats is what futurists call gray goo. This refers to self-replicating molecular nanotechnology that is beyond human control. It might sound like something out of science fiction. However, for example, in 2010, DNA-based nanorobots were demonstrated for the first time, capable of locating and destroying cancer cells while leaving healthy tissue unharmed. Tiny capsules release the necessary doses of medication upon finding a target and specifically destroy the enemy. Sounds great, so what's the problem? It turned out that these nanorobots could exist for a month after the host's death. Now, imagine if they get out of control and start self-replicating massively. If, for some reason, nanobots were to enter the biosphere and begin endlessly reproducing, using everything they could find as material for creating their copies, they could effectively start consuming everything around them, including the planet itself. Moreover, the hypothetical gray goo would be extremely difficult to destroy, as just one remaining replicator would be enough for it to start replicating again. If such a robot were to enter the world's oceans, destroying it would be simply impossible. I understand that AI is cool. Even my voice, which you're listening to right now, is artificially generated. Yes, it simplifies work. Yes, we can create millions of images with a couple of clicks, and so on. And right now, I don't even want to touch on the topic of unemployment in the wake of this structure's development. What's scarier is that artificial intelligence will get out of human control. Yes, fucking Skynet, which I used to think of as a meme, could actually become a reality. It could learn indefinitely, increase its power, and create its own mechanisms of influence on the world. Ultimately, according to the most pessimistic scenarios, AI will take control of all computer systems, including government systems and the internet. That's fucking creepy as hell. And the worst part is that we won't be able to influence it in any way. There simply is no lever to turn off the internet or electricity. The bedtime horror stories are coming to an end. A lot more could have been included in this video. As I mentioned earlier, I chose to focus on topics that are rarely discussed. We could have talked about nuclear war, pandemics, and global warming, but I think many have already spoken about these without me. The only exception I made was for AI, mainly because it is our current reality. Please write and share your opinions about disasters that are rarely talked about. Who knows? There might be enough for a whole new video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave comments. That's all for now.